can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
Hotspur America. From the United States to N17, this is the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
When you're at a club like Tottenham, they expect you to win all the time. Be the best club in the country as far as I'm concerned.
Coming to you each week during the season.
Spurs in full cry here. Lamella! Oh, what a goal! And Christian Eriksen has scored!
I hate Arsenal. I just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! And Cafu has put Tottenham in front! Kane comes to the Emirates, scores for Spurs.
We're the Yids in America.
Carried away, but Dix is there to tap in!
To dare is to do.
Tottenham Hotspur turning on the style. Glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. The Spurs are still marching on.
This is Hotspur America.
Season 4, Episode 20 of the Hotspur America podcast. Joined this morning by Vas Coney. Vas, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Kenny. Spurs results aside, obviously.
Yeah, now going through a little bit of a tough purple patch here, and we're going to discuss all of that. Tim also with us this morning. Timmy, how are you?
My name is Tim, and I am a Tottenham supporter. Here for my third week in a row. Keep coming back. It works if you work it.
Tottenham Anonymous. That's oh my goodness. Simon, had a nice little discussion with you yesterday, and glad to have you back this morning.
Yeah, I must be addicted to this too.
Yeah, I guess so. Also joining us this morning, very special guest with us, TV and radio personality for the Texas Rangers Baseball Club here in Dallas, and also a Dallas Spurs member who's got a charity event going on today, Mr. Jared Sandler. Jared, how are you, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me. First-time caller, long-time listener.
There you go. I haven't heard that one yet. That's actually kind of nice for me, guys. As always, the Hotspur America podcast brought to you by the Community Beer Company. Try their Community Beer Public Ales. Oh, my God, they are so good. The perfect pub pint to share with your mates. You also follow us on social media. We've got a couple of new platforms out there. Instagram, we're at Hotspur America Pod. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Spreaker, and, of course, iTunes. Download us where you choose to, and the new iPhone Hotspur America app is also out. So go ahead and download that. It's absolutely free. I think they play, like, I don't know, laundry detergent commercial or something before you get to listen on that one, but I didn't set that up. That's Spreaker making money for you. This afternoon, as I mentioned, Jared has a charity golf event which benefits Texas Special Olympics called Swinging for a Cause. Jared, I want you to tell me about the event, your history with this charity, and how others can maybe get involved and contribute.
Yeah, so the event today is a Topgolf tournament, and this is something, not necessarily a Topgolf tournament, but being able to use whatever platform I have to give back is something I've wanted to do for a while. I think that's one of the appealing things that I don't know that got me into this industry, but has certainly kept me around. It was that knowing that, on top of doing what I love to do and broadcast and cover sports, I also have an opportunity to impact others. And hopefully with this event and events in years to come, we can do all that. And I say we because it's not a me thing. The biggest argument we had when sitting through meetings for this event was whether or not my name should be attached to the event. And I was the only one who didn't want that because I didn't want this to be about me. It's not about me. I ultimately lost that battle, but I still maintained my position. And without the people like Dallas Spurs supporting an event like this, maybe it happens, but it's not successful. And if it's not successful, then it's not going to keep happening. So, I'm really excited. We've been working long and hard to get to today. I joked with someone the other day. I got engaged 2 weeks ago, and I'm way more nervous waking up this morning than I was when I woke up the day I was going to propose. But my connection to Special Olympics is maybe a little unique. A lot of people that I've met a part of Special Olympics are there because a family member or a close friend is or was a Special Olympics athlete, and I actually don't necessarily have that connection. I was living in Michigan working for ESPN a few years ago, and I finally got around to doing something I wanted to do for several years, and that was volunteer for Special Olympics, and I just fell in love. I am a super competitive person who has a tough time when he loses rock, paper, scissors, and I went to a basketball tournament, and I saw these athletes, and they were just the happiest people around, and high-fiving each other, high-fiving opponents, and just doing everything with a smile on their face. And I learned more about the organization. I really believe what it stands for. I believe in the opportunities it provides, people in our world with physical and intellectual disabilities. And it actually ended up inspiring me to start a foundation, which will take over running the event next year, and will still be connected to Special Olympics. But anyway, long story short, it's always been something that's important to me. I think, maybe in an indirect way, my dad's late sister, my late aunt, who's South African, just like everyone else in my family, she helped establish some of the special education curriculum in South Africa. And so maybe it's in my blood in that way, but that's really my only connection to this type of world. But I've loved being a part of it, and I'm really excited to continue to be a part of it for years to come.
Jared, you seem to have this easygoing nature with a microphone in front of you. For the benefit of our listeners, can you just expand on what you do for a living? And then I'm going to kind of ask you to go into your Spurs history. So
sure, yeah. So I wasn't smart enough to really do anything else, but I do love sports. I've grown up in a sports family. From my grandfather and my grandfather's brother to my dad to my brothers and cousins and uncles and aunts. And so I don't know that I didn't necessarily have a choice, but from an early age, sports was always really important to me. And when I got to the point, like so many of us do, where we were no longer good enough to continue playing, I turned to broadcasting. I gave it a shot, and thankfully it's worked out. I've tricked enough people along the way to give me jobs. So, currently, as Ken mentioned, I do some TV and radio work for the Rangers, doing their pre and post game stuff, and even starting to do more and more in-game play-by-play. I work for Fox Sports Southwest, broadcasting some baseball and basketball for them. And then I also work for what used to be CBS Radio, now Entercom Radio, 105.3 The Fan, doing sports talk and just contributing on that station as much as possible. So it's been a lot of fun. I guess my initial dream was to play sports professionally, but once I moved on from that, the ability to live in my hometown and cover the teams that I grew up rooting for, and especially with the Rangers, getting to work with a guy who's been my foremost mentor in Eric Nadel is really special.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame broadcaster, is he not?
He's a Hall of Fame broadcaster and a Hall of Fame person, and I'm really lucky. I joke with people that I try every day I go on air not to cuss or say anything that's going to get me fired, and I'm kind of joking, but I'm also not, because this is I'm living the dream. I'm having a blast, and to be perfectly honest with you, some people might roll their eyes when I say this, but being able to do what we're doing today is also a part of that dream. It always has been. I think back to September 11th and the aftermath, and that was, I was young, so that was my first real exposure, not reading stuff that happened in the past, but real-time exposure to how sports can make a difference. I'll never forget watching, when my family moved to America, they lived in New York. So they're New York everything. I'm not, but they're big Yankees fans. And I'll never forget watching a Yankees-Red Sox game in Boston after September 11th, and Red Sox fans were wearing the I Love New York shirts, except, as coming from Red Sox fans, and the shirts were, We Love New York. And I remember getting chills watching that, because, that was when the rivalry was at its fiercest, maybe over the last 20 years. And, to see how our society pulled together in the wake of a terrible tragedy was just really, it grabbed me. And, I wish that obviously it didn't take stuff like that for stuff like that to happen, but it showed me how sports can make a difference. Sports can make an impact, and it led me down this path of wanting to take part and kind of follow in line and help do the same. And so, not to keep rambling, but I definitely am living the dream. I'm really happy.
That's a great story. So for any of our listeners in the UK, and I know we have quite a few, and if you're interested in American sports, and particularly Dallas area sports, definitely follow Jared on Twitter. Is at SandlerJ, and you get great insights, particularly during baseball season, basketball season. So that's great. So Jared, let me just ask you one more question. I think we're privileged to have 3 generations of Spurs supporters down the pub quite often. That's your father, Alan. We know very well, obviously, you and your children. So how one, did your dad get you to be Spurs? Because obviously he didn't influence you on New York sports. And then obviously your kids probably didn't get a choice. But I thought it was fantastic. A couple of weeks ago, they were down the pub. They had more energy than me walking into the pub, storming past me to get a front row seat for the North London Derby. So hats off to you. But tell us a little bit about your Spurs family.
Yeah, so first of all, I can't take credit for those kids. Those are my nephews.
They're still a third generation.
No, absolutely, and I hope to. I talk to my fiance all the time. You know, we hopefully our kids fall in line, and you know, we got them going to the pub at an early age. But yeah, you know, so I think the reason why I never really followed in line with the New York fandom was because I had options in Dallas where I was born, whereas, you know, with Tottenham and with soccer, you know, I guess I didn't. And at first, I remember when I was really young, my brothers and I used to make fun of our dad for being such a big Tottenham fan because they just weren't very good. And it wasn't about being a bandwagon fan, because I've supported Tottenham for several years now, including before this, you know, this stretch where they've been really competitive. But you know, he just always had this hope, like they were going to be the best team in the league that year, and they just weren't. And so we always had fun with him, and then eventually it kind of clicked, and I was like, I love this. You know, this was great, and it started just being able to spend time with my dad. You know, we're all really, really close to him, and the ability, you know, just to go on a Saturday or Sunday morning and watch a match with him. You know, I grew up around soccer. I grew up going to his matches when he coached. I grew up watching him ref, which is not fun at all because no one on the sideline is supporting your father when that's the case. Unfortunately, I never got to see him play. You know, I get asked inevitably in some conversations if I could go back in time and watch a sporting event. My answer is always, you know, I want to go watch my dad play. But so it all really comes through him. I never had any interest in supporting another club. My dad's a Tottenham fan, so I'm a Tottenham fan. My brothers, maybe not to the same degree, support Tottenham as well. And now we've got my nephews, and they've got their Tottenham kits, and they're always asking, you know, when you know they're not able to go to the pub, they want to know what the score was, who scored. My one nephew loves Dele Alli because he's my favorite player. And he's kind of a little, you know what, like Dele Alli, and my other nephew loves Harry Kane. And the fact that they, you know, you give them a number, they know who the player is. It's really neat. I know that's special for my dad more than anyone else because he loves having us there. I don't think I've paid for a single thing at Trinity Hall or the Irishman because I think my dad is just so happy that I'm there and that my nephews are there. And it's just really cool to share that with him.
Well, and you know, I have to echo those sentiments because on the opportunities over the years I've been able to bring my son there, it's just that sheer enjoyment of 2 people in one family following the club. And I know Sam does that to a degree, even though he's got one son that follows the other side of North London. But and I have to echo your sentiments about the connection between a father and son and the game of football. I was fortunate enough to be able to play with my son, and that's a memory. You know, the amount of games I've played down the years, I can barely remember many of them, but I still remember the first time I got to play with him. He was young. He was playing out on the right wing with adults my age. They wouldn't go anywhere near him, so he had free reign down the right wing, and he just kept bombing down there, putting crosses. So they didn't want to tackle my son and hear it from me. I'm like, do what you got to do. And then, you know, having the chance to play a couple of 5-a-side tournaments with Dallas Spurs on Spurs official trips over here. So yeah, it's definitely a great connection. And for any of our other younger members out there that, you know, going to go into fatherhood, that's something you need to plan for. But you must be doing a great job because you had me fooled thinking they were your children. So you're well set up, my son. Well done.
Thank you. I like to claim them when they behave and when they're really cute, and I pass them off when they don't.
Well, they do behave down the pub. It's awesome, and they put up with us with our banter and our bad language.
All I want to know is why didn't they do the drawing for the ball? Because every time they draw, I win.
Yeah,
and
you win.
I got to tip them like $1 each time. Then when